Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reviews That Don't Matter with Jessica Hitt. My name is Jessica Hitt, and on today's episode, I'm very excited. Dressed the part. We're talking about Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, the new movie starring The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, and then some teenagers. So if you know me, you know I am that annoying 90s kid who was born early 90s who thinks everything from the 90s is awesome, including Jumanji, which is a classic. How can you not like Robin Williams, Bonnie Hunt, a whole bunch of things happening, bringing the jungle to a safe little town that's apparently not safe anymore, but we get 20 years later a sequel to the movie, and you know what? This movie should not have worked. It probably shouldn't have been made, but I love this movie. Now, if you've been keeping up with what I've been doing this last week, you know I did a favorites list, a disappointment list, an anticipated list, and in my favorites, I put Jumanji because I had so much fun in this movie. I laughed out loud throughout the entire thing. I might have shed a tear at the very end of the movie, and you know what? The new spins on it, where it's making a Jumanji instead of a board game into a video game, were really smart. They played it off very smart, like really relatable to anybody who's grown up playing video games, which anybody obviously would be if they grew up in the 90s and 2000s. It's like, that's what you did. I also like the fact that the game was technically started in 96, I believe it was, 1990, yeah. 96 or 97, one of those two. And I like how they kept that sort of old school feel within the video game. Like, it didn't feel too new. And at first that threw me off because I'm like, games these days don't necessarily do that. Like, they you know, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And then I remembered the game was technically started in 97, so we were playing a late 90s video game, and this is what it was. And it works perfectly fine. This movie also played homage to the first film, in which this case, we see what happens when you get sucked into the video game. And it's interesting because the video game was started in 97, you have Nick Jonas' character that's stuck in there, who's been missing for 20 years or however long. I think, yeah, 20 years. And for him, he thinks he's been in the game a couple of months. And then it's interesting to kind of think about it after you get out of the movie and be like, okay, they felt like they were in the game for like a day or two or something like that. I wonder how long they were gone from the outside. Like, did their parents start freaking out? Like, how much time passed in real time? And then, because obviously when you get sucked back out of the game, when you were sucked in, so nothing feels like anything happened, you know, you weren't missing it all. So that's kind of an interesting, like, deep way to look at it, like what was happening before that. And also, the script does a really great job at developing the personalities of these teenagers before they go into the game, and then they are stuck in their avatar body, which is The Rock plays the nerdy kid, Kevin Hart plays the jock, Jack Black famously plays the teenage girl obsessed with Instagram and all these likes and all that kind of stuff, and then Karen Gillan plays sort of the shy, nerdy girl. So that way, when they do get sucked into their avatars, you actually believe that these grown-ups are playing these teenagers, and it works perfectly well. You see like this really interesting dynamic, and it's just played off so great. I mean, Jack Black's casting as a teenage white girl is amazing, and like, I am here for Jack Black. He is one of my icons. I mean, School Rock is one of my favorite movies. I love Tenacious D. Like, I'm totally here for Jack Black. And he is just like a second coming in this movie. I love it. And Kevin Hart, for, you know, his shit can always get a little tiresome. In this movie, it really works, especially when you're thinking that it's not him saying it. The Rock does a great job at kind of playing a really insecure, puny kid. And then you have Karen Gillan, who does a great job also at kind of playing a very insecure girl who really learns a lot about herself in this whole thing. And also, I like the dynamic between the two teenage girls within the game and how they kind of start to relate to each other, and like they open up by talking. And it's not just that the blonde teenage girl is super shallow and all this kind of stuff, narcissistic. She actually has a really big heart, and they kind of play off the fact that the nerdy girl thinks really highly of herself and thinks she's better than the blonde pretty girl. And I like it because it's realistic. Like, these 4 teenagers feel real. And a lot of times they can really be caricatures in these types of movies, and especially the one that's obsessed with Instagram, like it's played well enough to where it doesn't feel crazy. It does feel like you know this person. And I think what most people are kind of, a little down on is Bobby Cannavale's villain in this movie, who he plays a villain inside the game. But in reality, he's not even the real villain. Jumanji, the game itself, is the villain, and it's about these characters banding together and figuring out how to do all of this stuff. So I don't really think that's a strike against the movie. I think he's really just a toss-away character that I don't need to worry about ever. And really, the thing I should be scared about, and the thing that is the real antagonist, is this video game that you're in that keeps trying to kill you. Also, I do want to speak about Nick Jonas's character in this. He is the kid that gets sucked in from 1997. He's been there for 20 years, thinks he's been there for a couple months. He does a really good job. You kind of do feel like he's from the 90s because he talks a certain way, and he has these pop culture references that are totally late 90s, like Cindy Crawford stuff. And I do like that moment that he realizes he's been in there for 20 years. And also I love the moment where the kids realize who he is. He's that mysterious kid that disappeared 20 years ago, and now the house that he used to live in is fallen into ruins, and his dad is sunk into depression and became the creepy old guy on the corner type of person, and it really kind of like it's a little heartbreaking to think about that, And so then it kind of becomes this thing where these 4 people are trying to get him back home, and I think that's like really, really like precious. And also, I'm going to say this. There's parts of this movie that should not work whatsoever. I mean, one of Ruby Roundhouse, which is Karen Gillan's character's strength, is combat dancing. And that is just like, on paper, doesn't work, in my opinion. Like, I would read that and be like, that's really dumb. Like, it needs to be scrapped. But it works so well in this game and in this movie that it's just like, this was a stroke of genius. Like, I cannot believe that. And I like how each of the characters gets its own time to shine in the game as well. And they just kind of come into their own. And even the Kevin Hart's character, he plays the jock, he's kind of the one that kind of last changes his sort of outlook and his attitude and stuff like that. But he does it, and it means something by the end of it. And then the whole like finale part of it, I think, is done really well. And it's done very smart. And then the very end, like, I legitimately was watching it, and I was shedding, like, one single tear just ran down my face. I'm like, I cannot believe that I shed a tear in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, in a movie that I should not be enjoying this much. And honestly, I walked out of the theater so happy that I saw this movie. Like, the people around me were laughing. The kid that was with me was laughing. My friend was laughing. I was laughing. It's a movie that I would love to see in the theater again. This is a movie I'd like to own. I think that somehow they made a sequel to Jumanji work. And even if they do a third movie or they don't do a third movie, I think it's a nice bookend. And I don't think that they're planning on doing one, even though it's making good money at the box office, which is a little surprising, but like very happy, of course, for it. And this movie is probably the shocker of the year. Like, I've been excited for this movie quite a bit. Since like the first trailer that I saw, and I was pretty impressed. I have been excited, but I was like, I'm probably not like this movie. I thought it was gonna be like a Baywatch type of thing where it should be a lot funnier than it is, and like there's really weird jokes. And one thing I will say is it's a little bit more PG-13 than I thought it would be. Like, there's some moments where, they just been talking about a penis, which is great because obviously the teenage girl that's Jack Black now has a penis, and she has to learn how to pee with it, and that seems really funny. It actually works really well, but I'm like, oh my God, they're doing this. I thought this was going to be a kid's movie. But then when you think about it, the first Jumanji isn't necessarily a kid's movie either. Like, there's some parts in that are a little scary. Also, considering there is that whole, Colonel guy going around a shopping mart shooting at things. That's not as good today as it was in the 90s. So, okay, I hope you guys like this review as much as I loved and enjoyed this movie. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below. If you've seen the movie, what did you think about it? Are you as high as with me? I love this. I love this movie. I do. I really do. Anyway, I hope you guys subscribe. I make videos Monday through Friday. And yeah, you'll see me tomorrow with a Lego Batman, which I finally got to see. Okay, bye.